Hi, beautiful ones. Nora Rochelle here. I'm joined by Jenner Linden of the Wild Ones. And thank you so much for tuning in for the Astro Priestess Summit of 2025 and beyond. So, this is such an exciting interview for me because I've worked with Jenner on a few of her rewilding events, which you absolutely must check out. They are phenomenal and so many amazing wisdom experts, and I'll let her share more about that and other things she has going on. But I just want to say how grateful I am for you being here. And so, Jenner Linden, she's a spiritual alchemist and conscious business mentor, creatrix of the Wild Ones community. She weaves ancient wisdom with modern somatic techniques to foster transformative growth and life-changing results. And she is going to be sharing about EFT for living your truth. And so, before we dive in, is there anything else you would love for people to know about you?
Ooh, so many things. Thank you so much, Nira. I'm so happy to be here with you and all of you for this incredible summit, the iteration. I know there will be many, many more. This is incredible. So I do feel like I should probably start off with letting everyone know that I'm a Virgo sun, Virgo rising, and Taurus moon. That just makes sense. But I always say like don't let all that earth fool you because I have a stellium in Libra and my north node is in Scorpio. So that's, I do switch it up. Once you go on the inside, there's a lot more going on there. But yeah, as you mentioned, I'm the creatrix of the Wild Ones community, and I've been on this journey of inner healing for over 20 years now, almost 2 decades, which is just like miraculous. But in that time, I've guided over 80,000 people to really break free from their conditioning and to fully step into their own self-expression. And this month in the Wild Ones communities, I'm actually guiding our members through a 10-day journey called Heart-Centered Magnetism. I thought it would be really fun to take the energy, this love energy that we have coming up in the month of February and really help it to dissolve barriers that we've been holding back in our life to help us awaken our heart's wisdom and to really create things in our lives that we want more of. So that's what we'll be doing. And then really it's all for a greater mission of reclaiming our power, like bringing our power back to us. For so long, we've been pushing it out to all the different people around us, whether it's society, whether it's governments or parents or community or whatever it is. But I really want to guide people back to themselves. And a quote that I recently came by that I really love from Alice Walker is the most common way we give our power, or wait, the most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any. And I think right now we feel like that in these times that we're in, and it feels like everyone else has control over our lives and who we are and where we're going and what we're doing and our money and all the things, right? And so I really want to flip the switch on that for people. I really want to help people reclaim that power back to them because we are so incredibly and powerful, and the powers that be don't want us to know how powerful we are. So let's bring that conversation back to us and really realize that the power all lies within us. We're essentially these conduits here on earth, right? We are getting all these incredible insights and wisdom from the heavens above and all the spirits around us and our ancestors, and there's just like so much amazing energy around us that we don't see, that we get to filter into ourselves. But we're also these earthly beings on this beautiful planet, and we're rooted in this earth and all of its amazingness. And so we are this conduit that bridges the heaven and the earth. So we really have this innate power within us to really create change in the world. So up here, we're like manifesting and coming up with ideas and what are all those things that we want to create. And then with our earthly bodies, we're actually rooted into the ground and creating them and putting them out into the world and sharing them with the world. And I completely lost track of what the question was.
Oh, it's so good though,
Oh, it was
because
the practices. I remember now. Okay. And the reason why I mention all that is because there's many components to practices that I like to use. I love using spiritual practices. I love using earth-based practices. I love working with the mind and our neuroplasticity and how do we shift our pathways, and then how do we work with the somatics of our bodies and the ways that we learn to be in the world with our bodies through different things like generative trance and breath work. And I also work with hypnosis and yeah, and then obviously today we're going to be working with tapping, which I think is like one of the best, simplest tools. And every time I talk about tapping, people always say, "Oh yeah, I always forget about that tool. Oh yeah, that's a thing I should do more of." So today we're going to do more of that for you. And it's one of those things that I think is like the simplest and the most accessible for us. Like it's not always easy to like lay flat and do some breath work or get into a hypnosis meditation, but in any moment, and I will share this with you too, is that we can do tapping.
I love tapping, and it has been one of those practices that has also helped me connect with my own voice around what I'm feeling. Like, I don't know if that's been your experience, but when you kind of have to go through, and I'm really curious to see your strategy and method around it, but I would realize I had to get pretty clear on the languaging and how I was talking to myself, and then see how certain words would trigger certain emotions, and then just be able to process it. It just was so instrumental in my emotional processing.
And that's what it is. It's emotional processing, right? It's emotion. We're emotionally regulating ourselves. I mean, the emotions are our energy. That's what we're putting out into the world, right? All the time. And so we're in this, fear state or anxiety or upset or worry or whatever it is. The beautiful thing about tapping is it can really calm us pretty quickly when we walk through a process. And so I use two different techniques with EFT. I love using faster tapping, which is a really simple, quick process. And then I also love going through all the, setup statement and through the journey with people too. So it just kind of depends where I'm at and how I'm feeling and how quick I want to want to release what I have going on.
So,
Yeah.
okay, before we go into some of that, because I'd really love to give everyone a taste of this, what do you feel is the most important energy for 2025 and beyond? And how do you see this all linked together? This is something we're asking everyone.
Yeah. Okay. This is a good question. There's so much energy happening in 2025, but I think, 2025 is definitely going to be the year of disruption. Like we're going to see that within our lives. We're going to see that all around us within the world, this total disruption of what we think and how life has always been for us. And I recently did a panel called WTF is Next with you and some other incredible experts. And one of the things that stuck with me was it was Danny Sage, and she said, "We're going to look back on 2024 in January, and we're not even going to recognize ourselves anymore. We're just going to be different versions." And there's some fear that comes along with that. It's like, we like to be comfortable with the comfortableness, right? Like we love our comfy lives. We really do. Actually, there's a new book that just came out that I saw recently that was something about like, okay, time to shake up that comfortableness because it's really easy to get in our comfortable lives. Like our ancestors didn't live comfortably like we did, right? Like they were always running from something or trying to find food or trying to, all of the, like a very different state of living. And we're like the most comfortable we've ever been. So there's going to be some shakeup in that. And then I think what's really great about that, though, is I do believe that we're going to become more in alignment with what's authentic for us as humans. Like I think we have to go through this stage, this crazy, weird, whatever the heck is going to happen stage. And we got to get really good at being in this stage with ourselves, regulating our nervous system, being surrounded by community that gets us and understands us where we can be ourselves, really being okay with the change that's going to be coming and just like being normalizing change for ourselves, really, if that makes sense. So that on the other side, when we do eventually get to the other side, because there always is, that we can appreciate it so much more, that it's going to be that much juicier, that much more exciting, that much more real for us.
In the practice that you're going to lead us through, how should we prepare? Like, what do you think we need to have? Like you said, it's simple. Like, how do we just like, how can we bring this into our daily lives and how can we just prepare for it right now?
Yeah. Well, I first let's talk about that because we kind of talked about how it's nice to have a setup statement, right? Like we got to get into the energy of it. So let's talk about sacred gifts to begin with. Like what are our sacred gifts and like how are we blocking ourselves from that? And so when I think of sacred gifts, I think of it as actually three parts. And I kind of already talked a little bit about the heaven and earth, but those are pieces, right? There's that innate so the first part I always just say is like that heavenly part, the part that we were born with, the part that comes supernatural to us. It's just like we didn't even have to learn it in a book. It's just like that's who we are, that's how we came to be, and it's like really simple and easy for us to do that. But then there's those earth-based practices, the things that we learned in school, that maybe we studied, that maybe we did in repetition over and over and over again, and now we're like really good at it or pretty good at it, however you want to say it. But we have those skills. And then we have our soul's sacred gifts, which I like to think is like our soul goes through so many different iterations, so many different lives, and on all of these journey through different lives, we have a lot of things that happen that are hard, that suck, that aren't great, that we have to learn through, that we have to grow from, that we have to move through. And so even in this life, so thinking of this life and thinking of those times in your lives that have been, the hardest, that have brought you to your knees, that have, totally changed up everything for you. Out of those comes so much of our own natural gifts, our own sacred gifts come from that, our own learnings of resilience and growth and evolving and all of these different pieces that we learn from those that only we could learn, right? Only we could learn that from those stories. And so we kind of have these three different things. And even though all of these are sacred gifts, it's often really hard for us to see them. It's so much easier to see everyone else's gifts. Everyone else has, oh, they know how to do that really well and they're really good at that, but it's really hard for us to see our own gifts. And the thing that I've noticed working with people is that we think we're really good at something, but then we always add a but to it. I always call these the but statements, right? So it's like, I'm really good at being a natural leader to inspire people, but I'm not really professional or I'm not polished enough. Or this one I hear all the time. I'm deeply intuitive or I read energy, but I'm too afraid people are going to think I'm woo or weird or strange. Do you hear that a lot in your work too, Nira? Yeah. Yeah, it seems like that's a big one for people. So we all have these buts like, oh, I'm creative and I'm really good at creative, but I'm not as good as that person, not as good as them over there. And so these are the statements that I really want you to get clear on. What's your but statement? So you have all these gifts, you have these things, but we let the but be the thing that overcrowds actually how we show up in the world. So taking out a piece of paper and putting a line down the middle of the piece of paper and taking a moment for yourself here and just on the left-hand side of this piece of paper, writing out your sacred gifts as we mentioned them. So what are your natural gifts? What are those? What have you learned from those hardest moments in your life? What have you studied in school? What are those things that people come to you for? So I'll give you just a moment here to write those out. Okay, if you feel like you got a pretty good list of some things, now I want you to go through each one of them and read it out loud, and then notice what the but is that comes after that, and then write that in the left-hand column next to your sacred gift.
I just have to say, in my own thing, obviously I put astrology at the top of the list, and then like my butt, that doesn't, I wouldn't say it doesn't stop me all the way,
Mhm.
but the fear that sometimes comes when I want to share a new technique is like, but I don't want to lead people astray. That's like
Mm,
such a big but for me. And it stops me sometimes from saying new things. Very interesting.
yeah, and you love learning new things. That's like
It's
your
constant.
jam.
Yeah. 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 So it seems like it could be like a very interesting awareness practice to see like, okay, I might be doing this and I might be doing it partially
Yeah,
rather than fully, right?
yeah, yeah. It's like a subconscious thing. It's
Hmm.
subconsciously coming up for you. It's not this conscious awareness that you're doing it all the time, but it just kind of happens naturally. This subconscious holding yourself back, like, oh, maybe not.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
So when you feel like you've got some good but statements, now I want you to go through these but statements again, and I want you to feel them in your body. And I want you just to notice which one gives you the most like tightness in your chest or that knot in your stomach or that feeling of uneasiness. That's the one that we're going to work with. So I'll just give you a moment, just closing your eyes down, well, read this statement and then connect with your body and just notice where you feel that in your body. When you feel like you've got your statement, your but, the one that you want to work with, the something that you have some charge to inside of your body, I want you to rate it. Like, what's the rating on a scale of 0 to 10? How strongly do you feel resistance to this but? You feel like you have a statement, Nira?
Oh gosh, I've got so many. I was just reflecting on how not only does it move in my body, it moves
Mhm.
a lot between heart and solar plexus, and then even the rating changes, and it
Yes.
feels like there's a fluctuation there. But if I just went with my thing of, I don't. I want to share new things, but don't want to lead people astray. It's like there's a heaviness of responsibility. And I really do take my work very seriously and want to help people. So then there's this, I think that's the fluctuation because there's, I think there's something about presence to it. It's going to depend on who I'm talking to.
Mhm. Well, the other piece too is when we start acknowledging what's happening in our body, it starts to dissipate a little bit. It's like, oh, you're there, and you already have the tools. So you're like already noticing, like, oh, that's there. It already starts to begin to shift just by bringing awareness to it within our bodies, which is really beautiful. It's not bringing awareness to what's in our heads. It's not bringing awareness to the but statement. It's bringing the awareness to what's happening in our body that starts giving that shift a little bit. So are you ready to go through? We'll go through the tapping sequence with this but statement with everybody. So
Yeah.
I know I know most people know EFT. Like I said, I think I haven't really come into a room yet where people don't. But that's okay. But just to say is we're working with the meridians in our body, just like our nervous system runs through our body, our circular system runs through our body. We have meridians that run through our body and they use them in acupuncture. But instead of using the needles, we use our fingers. And we're going to be tapping on the meridians that are most closely to the surface. So it's easier for us to do the tapping with it with our fingers, with our fingertips. So I'll be going through it and guiding you through it as we go through so you don't have to worry about knowing anything. And then I'm going to as I read through the statements, then go ahead and repeat them after me as you tap. All right, here we go. Karate chop point, hand up. Even though I have this but that's holding me back from fully sharing my gifts, I deeply and completely accept where I am right now. Even though I'm allowing this barrier to fully let me step into my gifts, I deeply and completely accept where I am right now. Even though I have this but holding me back from sharing my gifts fully, I deeply and completely accept where I am right now. And we'll begin with the eyebrow point just on the inner eye here. And you can do just one hand. I like to do two just to like give it good extra, but totally up to you. You really can just choose one side or the other as well.
I'm going with both.
Do
Going
you
all
do
in.
both? I always do both. It's so funny. Um, so at the eyebrow point, this big butt that's been holding me back. And now bringing it over to the side of the eye, right in front of your temple. All these reasons I can't fully share my gifts. Under the eye, directly under your eye, these doubts that keep coming up. And under your nose, this resistance I feel in my body. And onto your chin. The way I keep playing small. And now to your collarbone, which I used two hands on this one. All these old stories about why I can't. And under your arm, right at your bra line there, the fear of stepping into my full power. On top of the head, these blocks that once protected me. Back to your eyebrow point and the inner eye. What if I could let this butt go? Side of the eye. What if my gifts are needed exactly as they are? Under the eye. What if I'm already enough? Under the nose. What if these doubts are just old protection? Onto your chin. Maybe I can be gentle with myself. Collarbone. Maybe it's safe to shine. Under the arm. Maybe my struggles make my gifts more relatable. On top of the head. What if my butt is actually pointing to my growth? Back to the eyebrow point. I'm ready to share my gifts. Side of the eye. My experience is valuable. Under the eye. I trust my inner wisdom. Under the nose. My uniqueness is my strength. Under the chin. I can start from where I am right now. To the collarbone. My gifts make a difference. Under the arm. I'm safe being seen. And top of the head. I honor my sacred gifts. Bringing your arms down, taking a big deep breath here into your nose, out through your mouth. And now re-rate that intensity of your butt statement on the scale of 0 to 1.
I love that you gave it only 0 to 1.
Oh,
It's like, yeah, it's there.
hilarious. 0 to 10.
You were reading where it was for me.
Not have to shift that much. Sometimes it's just a couple points, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes what happens is, and oftentimes what happens is as we tap, different stories pop up in your head or other things come up to your head, and those are what to tap on next. So that's how you can kind of keep going deeper with the tapping, is to keep tapping on those things that you come up that you think, oh, that's no big deal, or that's weird that that came up. That's probably something to go deeper into to bring it down lower. But just to bring it down, even that, you know, how much did you bring it down? A little?
It went from like a 7 to a 1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's big.
That's
That's a huge shift. Yeah. But that's really nice when we can do that. And so the key really is when we feel the resistance, which is normal. We're going to be feeling it this year a lot. We're going to feel this resistance. We're going to feel this upset, this worry that's going to happen. And that's your signal to tap. That's make it as natural as you're breathing to do tapping. And so something I didn't mention is back in the day when I first started tapping ages ago, I was working at a day job and I knew I wanted something much different for myself and I didn't want to work there anymore. And so what I did is every time I went to the bathroom, I would tap. That
Mm.
was like my signal for tapping. And as a woman, I get to sit. So I guess as a man, you can too, if that's what works. But that was always my signal. Like, okay, well, I'm here anyway. I might as well go through some tapping. So I would just keep a list throughout the day, like things that would come up or any triggers or upsets or any of those things in your mind that just happen all the time. And we just naturally push it away and then move to the next thing. I would write that down and just keep writing stuff down so that when I went to the bathroom, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to tap on next. So I'd always have something to tap on. And the key with that one is it's, something that you're already doing. So you could always do it, after you brush your teeth. So make it a part of your morning routine or your evening routine, or after you have something to eat and you brush your teeth and now tap. So adding it into another habit is something that really helps as well, but trying to make it more naturally a part of your process is incredible. It's going to support you so much this year.
That's brilliant. And I think that's why it's pretty quick for me to be able to reduce it because I do have it as part of my practice and it does feel like it's a reminder, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can hold the duality of the but then I'm somehow remembering the truth in that process because something
Mm-hmm.
slows down. It's like slowing down enough. And I think especially your languaging that you offered was also very powerful because it's like we just need reminders. What are you offering for people to take away?
Oh, yeah. So I have a free workshop that I'd love to share with you all that I created recently. It's called Wild Wisdom Workshop, and it is finding your soul's true north after life big shifts. I think we often come to this work when we have some really big shifts that happen in our lives. And obviously, this year we're going to have a lot more that will be coming up. It is inevitable that we will all feel a little bit shaken. And so I created a class for you to move through that's going to help guide you and have some more practices for you to really create more grounding in your life, feeling centered, feeling aligned. And no matter what happens out here, you're committed to what's going on in here. I offer some mini rituals for integration. It's just a really beautiful class. And a lot of the work that I do, I love bringing in the elements. So we're working with the elements and we're working with what nature and is all around us and teaches us through the elements of air and earth and water and fire and ether. And it really does mirror the resilience that we need to move through transformation. So we're using that as our teacher in this class. So that's a free class. It's a 90-minute class and we go really deep in there. So I definitely suggest grabbing that.
Yes, definitely. That sounds amazing. And we have so much elemental alchemy happening this year.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially if you're newer to astrology or just newer to any of this kind of work,
Mhm.
um, newer or advanced, elemental understanding is the foundation. And it just brings everything to that place of simplicity and to be able to actually apply it in your lives. So I think that's wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, of course.
Amazing. Well, this has been wonderful. I know I, for one, feel even more calm and grounded, and maybe you're all going to hear some really fun, fancy astrology from me in the future.
I love it. Let's do it. I can't wait.
Yes. I hope you are enjoying the summit. Please give lots of love to Jenner. Find her in all of her places. Check out the Rewilding community. And please let us know at any time if you have any thoughts, feelings, insights, questions. We'd love to hear from you. Is there anything you'd love to leave everyone with, Jenner?
Mm. Yeah, just coming back to that quote again, anytime you feel like you're giving your power away to anything else that is around you, remembering it really does begin here. This is where it all starts. This is where we can ground it in. I love connecting with the trees around me, bringing in those elements and connecting back to ourselves and just taking a pause, taking a breath for a moment and then going back into your day. But it really does begin here. That's just like the biggest key to remember this year.
Thank you. Amazing. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Nira.